February 28th, the day when all the tensions started in the UAE.
A lot of people were at 10 out of 10 concern. I'm at 0 out of 10 concern. Are you consciously making your risk decisions yourself, or are you just following what the news and BBC tells you?
Meet Joule Sullivan, former military, intelligence, global security risk expert, now based in Dubai.
A man who's spent years in real war zones. He cuts through the panic with real risk perspective amidst false narratives.
Everybody calm down, take a deep breath. You're more likely to die from a road traffic accident than anything coming out of the sky. The panic and the reaction to that does not match the actual risk. I understand it's new, I understand it's scary, but the panic that's being created by Western media that's pushing for clicks, by people on social media who are trying to go viral, because obviously fear goes viral, does not match the reality on ground. Those loud noises that you hear, those bangs, are actually the infrastructure that the UAE is using to defend the country. So that's a good thing. That means the interceptors are working. And most people I know who live here, who have families here, they're still quite comfortable here. If anything, they feel more grateful and more loyal to the UAE. These billions of dollars being spent on interceptors.
How long do you think this is going to go on?
Weeks, not months.
How do you say that it's going to be weeks?
I've spent many years in actual war zones within the Middle East. The overwhelmingly most likely credible scenario that we're going to see is that in a matter of weeks, not months, we'll see that negotiated end settlement to the war.
In a situation where panic is louder than facts, the real risk isn't always what it seems. Stay tuned as false narratives are shredded on this episode of Real Talk with Zen.
February 28th, I think that was the day when all the tensions started in the UAE. And there were a lot of people actually who were completely there on Instagram, on social medias, and everybody were like literally somewhere very unhappy with you and some were very happy with you. So can you tell me what exactly was that?
Definitely. I think the thing that got most reaction was I said, I'm at 0 out of 10 concern. And a lot of people were at 10 out of 10 concern. Now, I explained that that's because of my career. I've spent many years in actual war zones within the Middle East. But also, your personal risk appetite is yours alone. What I'm comfortable with is going to be different to someone else. But the most important thing is, are you consciously making your risk decisions yourself, or are you just following what the news and BBC tells you? Are you coming from a place of calming down and rationally assessing the situation? Are you being led by emotions and perhaps the rumors that you're seeing in the expat groups, So that my key message was, everybody calm down, take a deep breath. Yes, this is new. Yes, this is headline worthy, but it doesn't actually represent a significant risk to your health and that of your loved ones in terms of your physical well-being. Again, you are more likely to die from a road traffic accident, even at the worst of what we saw over the last 2 weeks, than anything coming out of the sky.
So sometimes the real danger isn't the situation, but it's the panic around it. What is your take on that?
I completely agree with that. And if we look at the reality of the situation here, the fact that in the full 19 days, I believe it's 1 fatality in Dubai and a total of 6 or 7 in the whole of the UAE, the panic and the reaction to that does not match the actual risk. Now, of course, RIP to everyone who's lost their life, very sad. But more people die in that time period per official normal statistics from road traffic accident. And the world doesn't make a huge noise about that. I understand it's new, I understand it's scary, but the panic that's being created by Western media that's pushing for clicks, by people on social media who are trying to go viral, because obviously fear goes viral, does not match the reality on ground. Now look, I've spent 20 years in the security profession and the military before that, predominantly in the Middle East. I'm still at 0 out of 10 concerned. Now I understand, I'm a little more used to these things than other people, but the reality is I'm more comfortable having my family here than in many Western cities, many Western European cities, many American cities. And the reality is, if we look at it mathematically, clinically, my children are less at risk here day to day by what's known as violent mortality, or something affecting them with what's happening in the sky, than they would be with gun crime in the US or with knife crime in many Western European cities. I'm still more comfortable having my kids here, even in the worst of it, than in those locations.
We have our family over here, especially our kids, when they listen to the sounds and everything. What you as a father, what would you, advise your kids to keep them calm?
I think that's a very important question, because the reality is that emotional impact is actually what we should be focusing on more than any security risks. That's actually the issue here that's affecting families. There's a few different ways to do it. I think all family members should focus more on emotional health. So be more present with your kids, have more active family time together, really try and get off the devices and tune in on where your kids are emotionally. And there's many different methods with which to handle fear. This is something I learned in the military. This is something I've trained a lot of people in. One of them is the importance of mindfulness practice. So anything from a form of meditation or from prayer, if you're fortunate enough to have faith, or anything like yoga, anything that calms you down, that reduces the overall stress in your cognitive system, the overall cognitive load on your system. So your central nervous system baseline stress level comes down. So anything that calms you down, like a guided meditation on YouTube, is a wonderful thing to do as a family, so everyone can calm down that baseline stress level.
So do you do that with your kids?
Oh, 100%. I encourage it. I mean, I even did before this.
So basically, you were in the army, and then it's completely a different story that you are running a tailoring business. So what exactly is that?
I grew up very rough, single mother family on welfare. So I grew up in a poor family in Australia, and we only wore secondhand clothing. So I was teased about having, poor looking clothing. My goal was always to one day learn how to dress like those rich guys and be respected. And after the military, when I was taken into intelligence, because I had a skill for languages, part of that was learning how to dress not like an army guy. And I noticed just by putting on a nice jacket, the world is different. I could sit in a restaurant and not feel awkward. People were polite to me. I looked like I belonged in the room in upper society. And I realized there's power in the jacket. And so now that I've left security work and I've left the corporate world, I get a lot of pleasure in mentoring men and also helping them put on their best personal brand, if you will. Everyone talks about personal brand on the internet. What about personal brand here as I'm sitting in front of you? To me, that's tailored clothing. I believe in the power of the suit.
So what is the biggest lesson in the military that taught you that you still use it today?
Oh, I have to go back a fair distance. I left the military in 2007. I think the key thing that I learned as a soldier was the ability to be comfortable under real pressure is a muscle. And it's a muscle you can develop over time. And there's different ways to do it, not just joining the military. But I'd recommend for everyone out there, especially young men, try to get yourself in situations where you're getting used to risk, getting used to obstacles, a bit of healthy struggle. Because when you've developed the muscle to stay calm under pressure, as a man, that will help you in pretty much every area of your life, from business to relationships to any time life throws you challenges. So that's the main thing I'm grateful for. As a young man, as a soldier, I got very comfortable with fear, with uncertainty, with loud noises. And I was able to stay calm, make correct decisions, and execute my training, even under intense pressure.
People are hearing alerts and feeling uncertain. How should they respond calmly without panic?
I think it's fine to feel scared. I think fear is a natural response. But I think the positive reframe is quite important. Those loud noises that you hear, those bangs, are actually the infrastructure that the UAE is using to defend the country. So that's a good thing. That means the interceptors are working. When you hear the fighter jets in the sky, that's actually a good thing. They're out there to protect you. So that positive reframe is quite important. I also think overall, if you can continue to reassure yourself and your family that even though it's noisy and even though this is new, statistically, I'm still at greater risk of being impacted by violent crime in Western cities than here. I'm still safer here, if we look at it clinically, than I would be in many Western cities. That positive reframe is really important. I'd also say there's nothing wrong with, if your family's concerned, going out for a weekend in Hatta, for example. There's nothing wrong with saying, all right, if my family, I just can't calm them down, perhaps we should go for a few weeks and then come back when it calms down. It's an individual decision everyone has to make. I just urge that you do it from a place of rational thinking and using credible sources. Look at the official channels, look at the official newspapers, look at those online who actually have real experience. The people with real experience, people like me, they're not overly concerned. If you talk to security professionals, they're not panicking. They understand this is largely theater. This is symbolic retaliation from Iran who are pushing for headlines, not real physical damage in the Gulf states. And based on that, credible sources, positive reframing, taking away emotion and being calm as possible, that's when you as a family can come up with what's known as your risk appetite. Are you comfortable here? Are you not? And from there, you can make the decision from a place of being informed with accurate information, not panic or rumors or fear.
And during all these challenging times, who were the people actually who left the country? We did hear so many people left, and I don't really know it, but I was just following the news. What kind of people did actually leave this country?
Interesting you say that. Within my friends and family circle, I don't really know anybody that left.
Okay.
I know that there are people leaving, but they're not the people I know. Most people I know who live here, who have families here, they're still quite comfortable here. If anything, they feel more grateful and more loyal to the UAE. These billions of dollars being spent on interceptors, billions.
Yeah.
We haven't paid tax for that. That's the state looking after us. And we're not nationals of this country. So I see a lot of loyalty, a lot of gratitude to the leaders and to this country, even more so for those who've been here for a long time. I think perhaps people who are new to the UAE or don't feel as tied to this part of the world, perhaps they're leaving. I imagine a lot of tourists would be leaving as well. I've seen a lot of these crypto bros who panic easily are running away. But I think anyone who's been here for a while, they have their family here, they feel a loyalty to this part of the world, and they understand the efforts going in to protect this country.
Very true. And how long have you been in Dubai?
I first came in 2004 with the military.
Wow, that's been quite a long time.
En route to less friendly places. And I set up here as a base 2007 onwards.
So which means that I think the people who left who are only 2 years or 3 years old, And the people who have been living here for like 20 years, they really know what UAE is about.
I think so. I think those who have tasted the safety and the genuine positivity of living here, those who've realized that the leadership actually care about you as an expat here more than your own prime minister back home, for example, they're like, oh, hang on. Yes, this is different. Yes, there's some loud noises, but overall, I'd still rather have my family here than back in the West. And also the other thing is, I think a lot of people who've felt the benefits of the UAE, even if it continues on for a while, they'll still choose things like no street crime and no tax over going back to the West where, okay, there's no noises in the sky, but you do have real street crime. You do have a government that doesn't really care for you and just wants to tax you as much as you can. I think most people rationing are like, all right, sure, I'd like those noises to go away, but it's still better for my family here. In terms of you and your family, what's been the response and how are you guys handling it?
I mean, it's been really lovely because since I'm here for like nearly 25 years,
Oh, wow.
25 to 30 years actually, I've had my children here. So, I mean, I trust UAE completely because I built my career here. I'm 100% sure I'll always stand by UAE. That's my take on UAE.
Yeah. And I think most of my friends' circle are exactly that. They feel more loyal and more grateful to be here as a result of what's happening.
So while all this is going on, what is keeping you steady?
I mean, look, I don't want to sound like I'm not empathizing with those who are fearful here, but I've been through so much worse that this is nothing. And that's not an ego thing. I'm not a tough guy. You know, I'm a tailor. You know, I've just been through so much actual war all around the world that this for me is not a big deal at all. And again, I feel more uncomfortable sitting on a subway in a US city because I understand people could be carrying, there could be criminal elements. You know, I don't have a team around me. I feel uncomfortable in that sort of situation. Here, I feel completely comfortable. Not once did I leave my own bed and go into an internal area of my house or go into a basement area, even when it started. Because I know in terms of the infrastructure that's set up to support us here, and the fact that Iran is pushing for headlines, not for mass casualties, I'm still at 0 out of 10 concern. And I understand some people don't like that, but if you've lived the life I've lived and you have the relevant education and qualifications I have, you'd be at 0 out of 10 concern as well.
Everybody has this question, but I'm sure like I would like to know it from you. How long do you think this is going to go on?
Okay, so I said from the start, I think this is weeks, not months. And I'm going to stick to that.
How do you say that it's going to be weeks?
So you need to look at the consensus of the analysts that are out there and the different access that they have, both in terms of OSINT, open source intelligence, and the human sources that they have. You also need to consider the macroeconomic impact. No one's really winning here. And also you need to look at the intent of both the US, Israel, and Iran. Each one of those entities are ultimately looking to self-serve. That's what countries and politicians do. Dragging this on for a long time doesn't serve any of their narratives domestically in terms of keeping their people loyal to them and distracting from domestic issues like economic issues that many of these countries have. And a lot of them are pushing for a negotiated end to this where everyone can say they won. America can say, yay, we won. We pushed the nuclear capability of Iran back decades. We cut off the head of the snake. Iran can say we won. We stood up to Shaitan Bazorg, which is what they called it, America, the great evil, and the world is now scared of us. That is the outcome that benefits each of these countries the most. Now, yes, so that's the most credible scenario when you look at all the different factors that go into geopolitical and security risk analysis. Yes, there are outlying risks, something like what's known as a military miscalculation or a false flag, but these are very, very low risk. The overwhelmingly most likely credible scenario that we're going to see is that in a matter of weeks, not months, we'll see that negotiated end settlement to the war.
A lot of medias they just put up what they had to say. Why do you think that they did it?
Mainstream media is losing relevance in the age of user-generated content. I don't check the news anymore. I look at X for breaking, or I'll ask Grok and I'll give it specific prompts so that I get exactly the feedback I want. I think mainstream media is losing views. It's losing relevance, so they're getting more desperate. What's the one way they can get clicks?
They can get,
Fear,
clicks, likes.
sensationalism.
It's all about social media then.
Yeah, absolute nonsense. I remember I was at a majlis during an iftar and BBC was playing about a week ago. I was like, this looks scary. This looks really, and I'm like, hang on, I'm here. This isn't real. So they are portraying such fear to try and get views to then stay relevant and make advertiser, they're looking for advertiser returns. They want money. But also what you need to keep in mind for things like BBC, that is state sponsored. That is a part of the government. They get specific talking points direct from the government. So they are told, one could theorize here, all of our millionaires, all of the wealth, anyone who could was leaving the UK for Dubai. This is an opportunity to push down the reputation of Dubai. That sort of talking point is given by political advisors directly to the heads of BBC, and then they all have their talking points that all the journalists get briefed on that they need to go and talk to. because it's state-sponsored propaganda. I'm sorry, that's what BBC is.
What do you think? Which source should people look into it to get the exact news of UAE?
It's a very good question. At times like this, where there's so much misinformation out there and people pushing fear for clicks, following the official sources is vital. So there's Dubai Media Office, whether it's on website or Instagram or Twitter, is a good one. The Ministry of Interior, MOI UAE, releases good up-to-date information as well. And then you can look at the newspapers here that are official or official-backed, such as Gulf News. I would watch out for pretty much everything on social media. If you find credible experts with relevant experience who are not being sensational and are able to give objective reviews, then follow that. I'd watch out for Western mainstream media. They're pushing fear for clicks. I have so many people from Australia messaging me saying, "Are you okay?" I'm like, well,
We're
yes,
all right.
we're fine. So I think follow
Absolutely.
those official sources from the UAE government, because they're doing a really good job of communicating in real time. They are releasing information very quickly and very promptly and very clearly as well. In terms of actual disruption to my life, everything's normal here. Not a single thing has changed.
Well, I can see. I mean, your store is running amazingly good. And even when I went for, I think, iftar and shopping, I literally had to wait to get into a restaurant in Mall of Emirates. So I've never waited even on a normal day, but in these challenging times, you can see everybody enjoying. And this country cannot be called like we are in complete chaos.
Yeah. The way I sum it up, it was a bit of a tweet that went viral, was if you can order a pizza in 15 minutes,
I know that.
you're probably not in a war zone.
Absolutely. I saw that.
Like, it's humorous, but it's also true. We still have an amazingly high quality of life. All the critical national infrastructure is working and there's a lot of resilience there. We're not about to lose water. We're not about to lose internet. This is not what a war zone looks and feels like. Take it from someone who's built a career in war zones.
And imagine, I mean, like a lot of people were telling me to stock things, but you know something, whichever supermarket I'm going, they have all the brands just there. I mean, whatever you want. So I think the people should, get their right facts. And like how you said, the sources should be right.
And I think really focus on the emotional health of your family during these times, because that's the real potential impact. It's not security risks or things falling from the sky. It's extremely, extremely unlikely, almost near zero.
Like how you're saying the missile is actually in your family, and the missile is the emotional thing which you literally need to take over, especially for the children.
That's the real risk that needs monitoring. And there are many different ways to do that, from mindfulness practice to more quality family time to positive reframe. Those noises are actually what we like, kids, because it shows that the UAE is protecting us. There are ways that you can manage your family's emotional health during this time, and that should be everyone's priority, not doom scrolling on X and trying to monitor the situation.
I'm a little upset about this kind of situation. Like we can call it the new normal. What do you think? One advice you would give it to them, saying that how to feel better and how to, enjoy your Eid.
Well, I'm going to practice what I talked about earlier as a positive reframe. Yes, there's noises. Yes, there's uncertainty. Yes, there's a lot of fear. This is an opportunity to develop mental resilience. This is an opportunity to get comfortable with a bit of fear and uncertainty. Developing that muscle helps in every area of life. Wouldn't we as business leaders like to be more comfortable with a bit of pressure? Wouldn't we as family leaders like to be a little more comfortable dealing with fear? Now's an opportunity to upgrade our mental firmware and become better leaders of families, of businesses, and more secure in ourselves. It's a challenge, definitely, but from crisis can come opportunity. That's the positive reframe I'd use with your loved ones.
So where does this end? What is next?
I'm going to be annoyingly optimistic here. And I actually think the UAE will come out stronger for numerous reasons. One, the whole world is talking about Dubai. The whole world. So we're on everyone's radar. And what are they talking about? Mostly the incredible job that's being done by this country to protect the people here. Even if we're not nationals to this country, we're being very well protected. I actually think towards October, towards the end of summer, I think the traffic will be back to annoying level. I think more and more people now are aware of this concept of Dubai, where the leaders look after the people more than back in home countries. And I think the overall outcome will be a more evolved leadership. Obviously, they're going through a lot of struggles and they're winning, they're coming out on top. A more loyal populace, and also more global awareness of the fact that in the UAE, yes, it's in a volatile area, but the people here can live better than in their home countries, and the leaders here care about you more than your home countries.
Yeah, that actually literally shows, because we have a tagline right now saying that we are all Emiratis. I need to salute them for this, because it's such an amazing word used for us people who are leaving our country and coming here. What would you say about it?
I genuinely think the UAE will turn this crisis into opportunity, as we saw with COVID. The management of COVID was so well done here that the city just went like this afterwards. Property prices, everything. Everyone wanted to be in Dubai. I think we're going to see I think we'll have a quieter summer, sure. But after summer, again, as a metric, traffic's always good to monitor. I think we'll be back to too much traffic. And I really do think overall, the people here are going to be more loyal and more grateful, and more people are going to have Dubai on their radar. I think in a couple of years, this city will be busier and more appreciated as a result of the challenges.
And those people who left Dubai, who were talking so much about Dubai, they themselves will be coming back here. And that's when we need to show them, guys. I mean, sometimes, those people should not be even allowed here.
There's going to be a lot of people deleting their social media posts when this settles down.
Yeah,
Mark my words. A lot of people have been
absolutely.
deleting their sensational, fear-mongering nonsense.
That's what I was just saying. I had a meeting with one of an amazing journalist today. And I was just telling her some Bollywood social media were talking about about Dubai being like this. But then they were the only ones who came forward when they wanted to receive awards. They called me bootlicking. Can you imagine? Why am I bootlicking UAE? That was such a very bad comment on me, but then I did give them back left and right.
A lot of people say I must be getting paid by the UAE. There's a few problems with that. First, I achieved financial independence years ago, thanks to the UAE. But secondly, if somebody wanted to pay me per post to speak that which I didn't want to say, I wouldn't accept it.
Yeah.
I'm saying what I want to say.
Yeah.
And I haven't been paid a single dirham in terms of posts, but I have been given a whole life here. If anyone wants to pay me, then I accept crypto. That's fine. But I'm not going to say that which I don't believe. I'm simply speaking what I believe to be true based on my experience here, and the fact that UAE has given me more opportunity as an Australian than Australia gave me. I'll talk about that all day, every day. You don't have to give me payment for that. I've already been given a whole life here.
My take would be like me being a single mom with 3 kids. When I can live in UAE, having full trust on them, why cannot a normal family live like that? In UAE, like how it's said that if a lady goes on the road, even at 2 o'clock, she's safe and sound. So that's UAE for me.
That's the payment right there.
That's a payment. Yeah, lovely. So it's been lovely talking to you.
Absolute pleasure. And thanks for visiting the shop. It's my honor
Thank
to
you
host.
so much. It's
Appreciate
been
that.
really lovely.
Thank you.